All right, here we are at my much anticipated tutorial of how to do basic corrective makeup for main stage shows. I'm going to be using a combination of things that are already in my personal makeup and part of the Ben Nye kit that I sell for $22. I am using this type of sponge because that's what I have at home right now. For your makeup kit for stage, I highly recommend using a regular triangle sponge that you can get from the drugstore because it's very easy for makeup to get contaminated. It's very easy for germs to spread. So that's why I am a big proponent of just going to any drugstore and getting a pack of those triangle sponges and using it one time and disposing of it to minimize how much germs are getting in your kit. But if you are using these, make sure you're washing them because these can harbor bacteria, they can harbor mold, all kinds of gross stuff. So anyways, let's get to the makeup. I have a good amount of foundation on here. I'm gonna just dab around my face. So to start getting it on the face, whether if it's yourself applying or you're a parent applying to your child, I kind of start by spreading the foundation out to kind of just get it on my face. Now we want to blend. I don't know how much you can see, but it's kind of streaky right now. So I have a mirror right here and it's just gonna start doing this pouncing motion or stippling motion to press the foundation into my skin and get an even coverage and blend it out. Make sure to go over the eye and the corner of your nose, getting around the mouth, nose, under the eye, and it shouldn't take you long, even with the triangle sponge. Don't overthink it, parents and kids. Just get the base layer of foundation on your face. If we are doing stage makeup and this was my hair design and my ears are going to be exposed, we are going to want to get foundation on the ears. I know that's weird, but your ears will stick out because you do choreography. They'll get red and they'll be really obvious. Go down the neck. If this is my costume and I know my costume ends here, I'm gonna get foundation all over my neck and then again, just using that stippling motion all over. So now, base layer is done. I think it took 30 seconds. It probably took less if I wasn't talking. Foundation, done. Now, we're gonna do something called highlighting and contouring. In my makeup class, we talk about the difference between a makeup technique and a makeup product. So this is sold in stores as a makeup product, and we are going to use this in the same technique as it's marketed as a product. So this is sold in stores as a contour, and we are going to use it to contour. It also says you can bronze, but this is very gray toned and cool toned. I wouldn't bronze with this. Bronze is when you want to warm the face and put it on the high spots where you would be sun-kissed. It brings warmth to the face. That's not what we're trying to do with this technique. We are creating shadows to bring dimension back into your face on stage. So right now I'm very front lit and you can kind of see the shadows of my nose ridge. That is the effect we're going for. We're gonna put this in the spots where we want to show dimension. So it'll be along the edge of the nose. I'm gonna do this side with drugstore product. I'll flip to the Ben Nye kit on this side. Then I have a very shallow forehead. I have a really small space here, but just to bring some roundness back to the shape of my head, I'm going to do a little bit on my forehead. Then right here when I turn, you can ever so slightly see the shadow of where the hollow of my cheek is. I like to cheat up a little bit because if you do it directly where it is, it can change the shape of your face a little more. So I like to go a little bit higher and blend up instead of making it really low. Also, when you're doing your cheek contour, I keep the start of my contour in this range. And then the other thing I do is I don't bring my initial application further in than my eye so that when I go to blend it out, it doesn't get really deep by my mouth, down too low, too high. Make sure we're being very purposeful with where we're placing things. Now, your jaw is a little trickier for just basic corrective. If you want to, you can just put ever so slightly a little bit. But again, we want to be blending up if we want to bring that dimension in here. We're not doing the most, just a little bit here and there. So placement is pretty much the same areas. I'm going to use the sponge to blend out both so you can kind of see. This Ben Nye contour also is a lot warmer than the e.l.f. one, which I'm sure you can kind of tell. And again, it's this stippling motion. I've placed it where I want the most impact of that contour to be, and then I am diffusing. I know our littles, especially in my makeup class, do like this really sharp thin line and then barely blend it out. That's not what we want to go for, and I try to encourage them to maybe either put it a little thicker right here so that it's not a harsh line, because we want that diffused contour, because then when we're face on, or if we back up a little, you see the contour, but it's not either really muddy and blown out and we lose definition, or it's not like a very thin straight line. Just diffusing it, softening where we've placed it. If you ever feel like you want to clean it up a little, you can go on the side of the sponge that has the foundation or get more foundation and just clean up your contour a little. Nothing crazy. I know these terms sound really intimidating if you've never done it before, and you're like, what is this lady asking me to do? It's not that serious. It's not that stressful. Trust me. Trust the process. We're just bringing back definition to the vase. Same thing if you do kind of swipe or drag the sponge to kind of spread things. Be careful to swipe too hard or too much. You will disrupt the placement of where you've put it, and it can tend to lift the foundation or whatever makeup is under. So that's why I always encourage to go back and stipple over where you've swiped so that you make sure you get that blend back. Back to nose contour. Again, we just want to lightly swipe, especially for this one, because we don't want to drag the contour too far down onto our face. Some people will start with highlight. Sometimes I do start with highlight. Some people start with contour. As long as you get the placement correct, it really doesn't matter. There are no rules in makeup besides the literal chemistry of how scientifically we formulate things and the color theory, which is way advanced and something we talk about in makeup class. You don't have to worry about that here. So there's really no rules. I just have things that through trial and error work better in my opinion. But if it works for you, perfect. Now we're gonna highlight. We can either use the light shade in the Ben Nye kit, or you can get what is concealer from the drugstore or wherever you buy your makeup. This one's just one I happen to have. This one is quite light. I recommend doing a concealer or highlight that is 1 or 2 shades lighter than your foundation tone. Again, I really like these kind of products because they're doe foot, so it makes application a lot quicker. But whatever your preference is, whatever works for you. Where we're gonna highlight is everywhere next to a contour. So we contoured around the nose. We need a highlight around those contours. We're gonna go right down the middle of the nose. I'm gonna do the center of my forehead because that's a high point of my face that I wanna bring forward. I'm going to highlight under my eyes in kind of a broad triangle shape. Then I do center of the chin. And if this had gotten too crazy, I can use the highlight in here. Again, quick and easy. You could use this, but this is my like summer kit, so these are actually not the best shade matches for me right now. Whatever you picked, again, we're gonna use that like stippling pouncing motion. On the nose, be very careful not to go too far over and mess up what you've contoured. And we're just gonna soften and diffuse what we've placed, but leave it in the general area that you placed it. Don't get too carried away blending into an area you didn't place that makeup. You can see the dimension. My nose looks more 3-dimensional. My cheeks look more 3-dimensional. My forehead looks more rounded. If you have a very large forehead, you could carry the contour up around here. I don't like to do that, and especially depending if you're wearing hats or you have bangs or something that's gonna cover that, don't put product where we're not gonna see it. Once we do our eyebrows, you can even highlight the brow bone, and if you wanted to do some contour to bring back the shape of your eye, you could do that there. You could do it under your lip a little. Those are kind of extra things, but they're fine for now. These are the 3 main things that I want to see for main stage: highlight, contour, foundation. Now we're gonna do our rouge or blush. You're gonna want to pick something that's pretty neutral too. That's gonna depend on your skin tone. There's several ways you can place this. If you are a teen and portraying someone older, I would actually place it, if we're looking straight on to our mirror, from the corner of your eye up to about here. So just in this area, and it's going to lift the cheek and just look like a natural flush. So I'm gonna do in here, and that's where I placed it, okay? A good tip for when you're blending everything out is find a clean area or a clean brush and use that to blend out. And that way we're not adding more blush and becoming blush blind, as the kids say. We are actually blending that out. And again, using the stippling motion, quick and easy. Now I can see, oh, I need more. So I can come in, and you see how that applied more? Then I go back to the other side of the sponge to diffuse those edges. We're going to do the youthful blush placement on this side. So you're gonna smile and do it down here on the apples of the cheek. And already you can see where your eye is drawn. This is lifting and more of a flush, then this is like that youthful bright placement. I'm gonna find a new area on the sponge. For blush, we're going to powder everything in a moment. That will knock everything down. Your blush is one of the first things that will go to. So I know I joked about blush blindness a moment ago, but I would veer on the side of too much blush, because once we powder, this will knock everything down. In the Ben Nye kit, you are supplied a dark brown pencil. Most of them are the dark brown pencil. I like this for everyone's brow. We lose the eyebrows really, really quickly. So even if you have a very light blonde child, or you yourself are very light blonde, I still would use the dark brown pencil so that we have definition in your brows. Something you're gonna wanna do is mimic hair-like strokes. So instead of just coloring in like a block, I would feather it through, and you can sharpen these pencils with a cosmetic sharpener. Just follow what is naturally your brow shape. Same thing on the other side. If you ever feel like it's too heavy or you messed up or you want to spread the product around, you can get a mascara spoolie. That's what that is called. I have extras in the makeup room. Let me know if you want to add one to your kit. And you just feather through it. It's like a little brush for your eyebrows. At this point, the boys just need their lip color. So if you have this, I would use the lip color in there. You can use a brush. The Ben Nye kit comes with a brush. I don't have it. You can also use your pinky or finger. Just fill it in, especially for our younger ensembles and the boys. I don't want you to have like a perfectly outlined lip, but we do need pigment on the lip because you'll look sick if you have stage makeup everywhere else but your mouth. That looks really odd under the stage lights. Go like this to really press it into your lips. At this point, the boys are done. You need powder and then you're done. That would be your last step, is lips after filling in the brows. So boys, this is it for basic corrective. We're just gonna skip ahead to the powder portion. Ladies, if you do want to outline your lips, you can. For our younger ensembles, I wouldn't. I would still do the pinky trick. If you're playing an adult or someone older, you can get a neutral tone lip. So this is very similar to the Ben Nye lip color. And just ever so slightly do your lip line per definition. Quick and easy. Don't overline. Just follow your natural lip line, okay? The ones I really like are the e.l.f. $2 lip liners. They're great for our ladies that do like a lip line. This will help your lip color stay a little bit longer. I highly recommend not using, if you have the Ben Nye kit, this brown pencil that we used on our eyebrow. The best one you're going to get is a felt tip liner because it's the easiest user-friendly option. This is again a $2 e.l.f. pencil, manually sharpened as well. This is a little trickier because it can tend to be thicker and it is harder to use, but you can get the same effect with both. For basic corrective for eyeliner is to make sure you keep this thin. Don't get too carried away and make it a thick line. It should be as thin as possible, as close to the lash line as possible. Do not give yourself a wing liner unless it is your design. That is not basic corrective. Basic corrective is just outlining the top of the eyeline. I just lightly, gently go back and forth right at the lash line. Go slow, don't poke yourself. And it's okay if it's a little jagged, right? You don't have to go all the way in, especially if you have really sensitive eyes. That might be irritating. If I have asked you to wear false eyelashes, you're going to want to take this as far in as your lash band will be. I would not do the bottom unless I have asked you to as well. And generally for basic corrective, we don't do eyeshadow either, especially if we're doing a period show that's pre-1900s. I most likely will not ask you to do eyeshadow. Now that we have our liner on, we can do mascara or mascara and false lashes. For the purposes of this tutorial, I am not doing lashes. I highly recommend getting a waterproof mascara. Any brand, whatever works for you, whatever sensitivity level you are. I just like a waterproof for stage because you inevitably will sweat, and that is where you'll get transfer and smudging under your eye. So try to get something that's waterproof and water resistant. If you are under 13, unless I very specifically ask for lashes, I wouldn't worry about lashes at all. I would do a good coat of mascara. If you have the liner and the mascara, the eyes should be defined enough. Then if you are, I'll say around 13, 14 and older, I will ask you to do false lashes. Try to get something more natural shaped and softer, unless I tell you specifically you need double ups, you need something more dramatic, or give you like a shape to get. So now that we're pretty much done for the ladies, this is back to everyone. For setting the face for everyone, boys, girls, young and old, we need to set the face for stage makeup. This is what's going to lock everything in place as long as possible so that you can last the whole show with this makeup, even if you're doing crazy choreo and sweating. So if you get the Ben Nye kit, it will be just this bucket of powder that's loose, and then this powder puff that comes with it. I cover the little bucket, flip it over, shake it a little, flip it back over, and now I have powder just sitting on top. You're going to want to fold it like a taco and press that powder into the puff and get it loaded up with powder. So you're going to always be stippling. And you see where I initially started, I have a lot of residual powder. Just go back over it. At this point, now that we have powdered, I'm done. If you are a person that excessively sweats or wants added insurance, I highly recommend getting a setting spray. I have a water-resistant sealant spray in the makeup room if you want something that extreme. But you can get any makeup setting spray as long as it doesn't have any shimmer or talks about like glowy setting. No, we want either matte or just long wear setting spray. This one's good. Buy one size. It is kind of like hairspray, so you want to keep your eyes closed so you feel it dry down. I'll do an example of it. You're going to take a deep breath and then hold it and then keep your eyes closed, spray, spray, spray. And then when you stop spraying, breathe out to push those particles away instead of breathing them in. Then keep your eyes closed till you feel it dry down. Here we go. I think it's safe to open my eyes. Okay, I hope this is helpful. I'm sorry it took me like literally 2 years to get this done. Thanks for watching. I'll see ya in my next tutorial. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not an influencer like that. Bye, y'all.